Hello, welcome back everyone. My name's Ross. Today we're going to talk about the current state of mods in Cities Skylines 2 and Cities Skylines 1. Right now I've got my city booted up here, La Playa Central in Cities Skylines 1, and I booted it up in Cities Skylines 1 because honestly the short sweet point of this video is the mods are better in Cities Skylines 1. And you know, one of the things that I wanted to say about Cities Skylines 2 is some of the limitations that they have released on the mods. So I went to do this video and I was thinking to myself what I wanted to play, Cities Skylines 1 or Cities Skylines 2. And one of the things that I came back to time and time again was unfortunately the fact that there are no assets in the Cities Skylines 2 mods. Now, I don't have a huge amount of assets, but assets are still important to me. Like, for example, if you go down here into this little area there, I keep all of my interchanges that I've downloaded. I think that it's extremely important to have some of these assets. Now, that's just for functionality. When you think about the aesthetic benefits that assets improve, you know, you're able to place down some really incredible things in Cities Skylines 1. I haven't downloaded too many of them for the aesthetic purposes, just because I didn't want to limit my computing power too much. But being able to have assets is a big part of Cities Skylines 1. And unfortunately, it's something that Paradox did not announce a release date for yet. They did release their mod manager, and I want to talk a little bit about their mod manager because I logged in today and I thought, you know what, I'm really going to start a new city in Cities 2, but I just couldn't do it. When I booted it up, I looked at the mod manager, I looked at some of them, and you know what, they were pretty good mods. We had some that rebalanced the education. And that was something that was unfortunately a problem in Cities 2, was the education would have 11,000 people in high school and then nobody in elementary school. Or in my case, I had 11,000 people in elementary school and nobody in high school. So somebody created a mod to rebalance that education aspect. And I think that's great. That's a mod that if I was playing Cities 2, I would definitely download. And I think it would definitely improve my quality of life. But as myself just deciding what to do right now today, I just couldn't put myself into the shoes of somebody who really just wanted to play that game, because some of the other things that those mods weren't able to address aren't addressed yet. And so let's talk a little bit more about the mod manager and its differences. Now, there are some improvements with the mod manager. You know, I don't want to be all doom and gloom about it, but some of the improvements I've noticed to the new mod manager in Cities 2 is the load order. And I was somebody who in Cities 1, I would just check occasionally to make sure all my mods would work. You have a compatibility report checker, something that would basically say the mods that you have are okay and will run on your system. And that's something that I have via this specific mod. If we go into our options, and we've got a patch loader to apply patches. And then we have this mod right here, Harmony. And it'll generate a report to see if you have your mods basically set up so that they're all able to function together, thus sort of the name Harmony. And I really appreciate that because in Cities Skylines 2, you don't have to worry about mods working together. You know, they just work. And I think that's a good thing, because I downloaded a mod on Cities Skylines 2 just to try it out, you know, one that unlocks all of the tiles. And I thought, oh, unlocking all the tiles would be super cool. But I'll be really honest, I've been building this city in Cities 2. And when I unlocked all the tiles, I was like, well, great, what am I going to do with it? There's still not that many assets to put down. You know, there's only one type of school. You know, there's an elementary school. And basically, if you're in Cities 2, there's just an elementary school. If you're in Cities 1, you know, you've got elementary school, you've got a community school as an alternative, you can add more assets, there's a library, and I'm not even talking about high school, university, or etc. So I said to myself, you know, I'd like to play Cities 1 today, so that's why we're here. And we're going to go ahead and keep on chugging through and talking about the Paradox mods because I think there's a lot of potential there. I think that there is a lot of potential for improvement. I see Paradox Mods as a starting point, not an end point. And I know in the last video we talked about broad comparisons between Cities 1 and Cities 2. Some of those broad comparisons included things like, being able to add mod support, the limitations of assets. And I said that overall I was hopeful. I was hopeful that in the next few updates of this game, of Cities 2, we would have possibly some more assets added for free to at least put it on par with the base game of Cities Skylines 1. And I'll tell you some of the base assets that I would really appreciate in Cities 2 would be, and I know I've harped on the schools enough, but honestly, some of the elder care, child care, I think that's a really cool mechanic that they added here. If you want to boost your births, you put down a child care. If you want to boost your elderly care, obviously you put down some of that. And so I think there's a lot in the health and wellness area. You have, a sports hall, gymnasium, pool, all that kind of stuff is just completely absent from Cities Skylines 2. Now, is that going to be something that's added via mods, or is that going to be something that is added by, Colossal Order? I don't know. Unfortunately, I think it's a really, missed opportunity to have those things in our game, because I see myself wanting to play Cities Skylines, but when Cities Skylines 2, that is, but when I boot it up, I'm just like, I've already built a city. I've already done this. And there really isn't too much new for me to experiment with, Now, granted, I have all of the DLCs for this game, and I can boot up the park panel, and I've got so many different types of parks to build. It's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. Now, I will say, when I was working on this video, I was thinking about, is it fair to compare a game where I have all of the DLCs and I've really enjoyed it, to a game with, really no DLCs out yet? They do have an asset pack out on beach properties, but in reality, should I be comparing those games? And that's a good question that I honestly don't have the answer to. So I'm going to try and compare them going forward, based not on, all of the DLCs and such, but just base game to base game. And base game to base game, I think there's still a significant difference that makes Cities 1 better. So let's talk a little bit more about the mods, because that's something that this video is going to cover more in depth, because I really enjoy a few mods in this. We've got a roundabout builder, which honestly you don't need in Cities 2 because it's a built-in. You can just build a roundabout very easily in Cities Skylines 2. We already talked about the patch loader. We have this mod, TMPE. We got a traffic management mod. Basically, it helps me regulate some of these traffic flows as the city grows. We've got a bunch of features here that I have turned on, timing the traffic lights and speed, all that type of thing, including parking restrictions. Despawn is also a nice little thing if you're having problems with like backup in your city. FPS booster, I haven't had a huge, really a huge difference, but I did keep it on. I've got Move It, so I can move things around. We've got Precision Engineering, which sort of helps with being able to place things at the right angles. We got Achieve It, because I like achievements. We've got, and some of my favorite ones are down here, Realistic Population and Life Cycle Rebalanced. Now, Cities 2 just has a new Realistic Population mod that came out. I haven't tried it yet. I'd like to download it, but honestly, I need more to get me back into that game. And Life Cycles Rebalanced also makes sure that people go to the school at the right time, and they age at their right time. They have the right health, right death, transport, all that stuff, and I really appreciate that. So, and then we have our transfer manager for basically going from one area in the map out to the main area and fixing a few patches in here. And then we've got this nice little mod here, Acme, and that mod I just sort of used because I saw a lot of people subscribe to it. I haven't tried it out too much. but I will eventually, and we'll get into that hopefully in some later videos. And let's talk about the mods that I was looking at in Cities Skylines 2, because I think if you're going to get the game and you're going to play it, you're going to want some mods on it. And to be honest, there's not as many options, but some of them are good. You know, one of them is rebalancing the education system, and that's something that you need. One of them is like a realistic population, which I think is also another thing that is good to have. I enjoy the more realistic population mods, but not everyone does, and so if it's not for you, that's totally okay. And if you go through my mod list on Cities 1, I'd love to see some comparable mods to Cities 2, because as I play both games, I see sort of similar problems and different problems. You know, there's still a need for a roundabout. The question is, you know, am I going to do a roundabout through the in-game functions, or am I going to make a roundabout through a mod? And in this situation, I've been using, in Cities 1 at least, roundabouts through a mod. But in Cities 2, it's very nice to have roundabouts just built into the game. They do have like a progression panel, so you have to unlock them, but I found that that's been pretty fun to do. The problem is it's just not fun to play, you know, multiple times. So, you know, I've actually had people ask if I'd recommend Cities 1 or Cities 2, and to be honest, just all of this modding talk aside, it's not something that I can recommend Cities 2 quite yet. I think it'll get there, I really do, but I wanted to just make this video about the mods, the things that I've noticed. I think it's important to talk about the differences, because if you're going to buy the game, it's a hefty price. Cities 2 is, you know, not nearly as cheap as Cities 1 is quite yet. Someday, you know, that might change, but I just don't know if right now I would be completely ready to put down my money onto that game. So we'll see what happens in the future. Now, unfortunately, I already did put the money down, and it was worth playing through. It was worth trying it, and I'm glad I have it for the future. Part of the reason I bought it so early was I wanted to support the developers. You know, I wanted to support Colossal Order in their endeavor to create a brand new game. I thought that's something really cool, and I think that that's totally okay if that's one of the reasons you bought it. You know, not all game developers have these like very malicious intentions that, you know, some game developers are thought to have. You know, I'm not going to mention any specific game developers that, you know, aren't really listening to their public, except for EA. I'm not a big fan of them, but neither is, you know, really most people. So I think that, you know, Colossal Order has the ability to sort of take what they've done and build on it and make it into something that in the future a lot of people are excited to play and a lot of people are really interested in. We'll see if that's something that in the future is a game that I could really recommend to others to start with. But in reality, at this point in time, if you're building your first city, you know, this game just has so much more mod support. It's got so much more assets even in the base game. And not to mention, if you're a fan of the DLCs, there's more DLCs available. So I like to just put that out there for anyone who's interested in buying. And you know what? If you're going to buy it, I can't stop you. That's totally okay. It's not like I want to stop you from buying it if it's something you want to do. But if you're on the fence, I'd say I have a lot more fun in Cities 1. You know, that's why I'm playing it right now. And I, you know, couldn't even decide to boot up Cities 2 just because it just wasn't something I could get myself to do today. And, you know, that's something that is unfortunate, but it's something that I hope changes in the future. So anyway, thanks again for listening, and don't forget to continue watching. I did talk to my wife, and if she sees we get 2,000 subscribers, she's going to make a video about building her own city, which I think is super cool because she's played this game a little bit before, not very much. She's not nearly as passionate about it as I am, or doesn't have as many hours into it, but we're just going to have you guys see what happens. You know, if we get that many subscribers, we will go ahead and build my wife a city, and we'll see what she likes to do with that, because she's got some pretty interesting design choices, I think, you know, coming from herself and her background. So anyway, we'll get into that later. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.